Thank you, Michael, for that very generous and kind introduction. In 2010, I was the convocation speaker for the College of Engineering, and it was held in two different sessions because of the size of the student body in that college. The first session was in the old Provo Tabernacle building. You know what happened to that building? December of that very year, Tabernacle building burned down. So I'm wondering if Dean Jensen remembered that and did not want to have this lecture in the new engineering building. Before I get into my lecture, I want to introduce three special guests that are here with us today. They are very much connected with MIT, World Peace University in India. This university has an aggregate student body of 70,000 students. It's a private university in Pune, India, not too far from Bombay, where I grew up. Yeah. This university was founded by Dr. Vishwanath Karad, who is an engineer, a scientist, and also very spiritually oriented. Like BYU's education, where learning is not only by study, but also by faith. This university's motto is the union of science and spirituality will bring peace to all mankind. So there is a connection between the two universities on what the mission is and how to educate their students. Dr. Karad will be honored next year during graduation ceremonies to receive his honorary doctorate degree from BYU. This university also includes, on a separate piece of property, the World Peace Dome. That Peace Dome is 263 feet tall and 160 feet in diameter. What's important is what's inside the Peace Dome. It has 54 statues of religious leaders, philosophers, and scientists. And Dr. Karad honored us, honored the church and BYU to install the statue of Prophet Joseph Smith last November. So we have three individuals here that I'd like to introduce. Dr. Sanjay Kantekar. Sanjay, if you could stand up, please. He is the Chief Academic Officer for MIT WPU. We're glad to have you here. I'd like to introduce Ashok Joshi, known as AJ. AJ is the individual, a great friend of the church, great friend of BYU. Dean Jensen has been to Pune, to that campus, at the invitation of Ashok Joshi. And Ashok Joshi is solely responsible. He doesn't like me to say this. Solely responsible to help us get the statue of Joseph Smith in a peace dome that is built by a Hindu saint. You know? And you'll get to meet him at graduation next year. I'd also like to introduce Ron Gunnell. Ron Gunnell is the global envoy for the Tabernacle Choir. Very successful businessman. He has been to India 67 times already. A lot more than I have been since I came here. He may be American, but he's Indian at heart. He just needs to work on his tan and his accent. It is common in the business world for companies to have a mission statement. My company has a mission statement. Often, though, the mission statements are just slogans. Something that sounds good, but may not really reflect what the company stands for. Well, we have taken a different approach. When I saw my first business statement that my marketing manager put together, it sounded flashy, it sounded, I won't tell you all the words I used when I saw that the first time. So we've decided to take a separate approach. Mission statements are just words, but there's no action involved in most cases. I wanted a mission statement that resembles action. Okay? So this is the way the mission statement of my company is set up. It is based on 5 key principles. Number 1, keep commitments at all costs. My father died when I was 11 years old, but one thing I remember about my father, he was known by his business associates and anybody who knew him, he was a man of his word. And that stayed with me ever since. When in putting this in practice, when I have clients have questions, when will you have the building completed? When will you have the drawings done? When will you have the building permit issued? I rarely give them a straight answer. I answer by asking them a question. When do you want it? And then we make it happen. Sometimes it's challenging, but that is what our culture is based on. Next principle is provide best service. Now these may sound like slogans and everybody says, of course we have to provide the best service. But best service requires that we don't let technology hold us hostage. Now, this may sound strange. Technology, in my opinion, has actually hurt providing the best service. Try and calling the airlines. Try and call your utility company. Well, first of all, in a lot of cases, a computer answers your phone. You won't find that when you call my company. There will be a live body answering the phone. Technology is a good tool, but it often is a crutch. When I have my managers tell me, well, I send somebody an email and I'm waiting for an answer, that's the wrong thing to say. Did you pick up the phone and call them? So we have to be careful how we use technology in providing service. When you have a problem with anything that you buy and you have to call the company, quite often the phone is answered at a call center somewhere halfway around the world. Somebody speaking with an accent whose name is John, in most cases. So service needs to be being very responsive. Next principle is provide best quality. Of course, to stay in business, you have to have good quality. But we back up our quality by providing a 25-year warranty. You might think I've lost my mind. Nobody in the engineering and construction business provides a 25-year warranty. There's a price to be paid for that. And yes, we do pay the price for it. But we do provide 25-year warranty on our work. So Dean, you don't have to worry for 25 years on this building. Provide the best schedule. Again, when the client says, I need my building done in 2 years, in 18 months, in 6 months, we have to be ready to say yes. And it needs to be done without sacrificing quality or safety. I'm going to be using some examples in a few minutes to show you how these principles have been used on those projects. Next, the last principle is provide the best quality. Best value. Now, what is missing in this list? What about profit? Don't you have to make money to stay in business? We have found that if you run your business, especially the kind of business I'm in, and follow these 5 principles, money is a byproduct of following these principles to design and build any project. Let me just share with you a few examples. Oh, incidentally, so the principles really defines the culture of a company. Every company has a culture. Defined or undefined, there is a culture associated with the company. When you refer to some company, you already have an impression in your mind, if you've done business with them, what kind of culture they have. So the principles really defines what kind of culture you have in your company. We have a 33-year history building Costco projects. Costco is my toughest client that I have done business with. They do not take no for an answer. The executive vice president of Costco, who we worked with, has a sign in his office: never take no for an answer. And I learned that lesson pretty soon when I used that word on some, at that time, thought a very ridiculous demand he was making. He wanted our steel painted white, not in the field, but in the shop. Now you can understand, trying to have steel made in a shop, painted white there, by the time you bring it to the construction site and get it up in the air, it's going to get dirty. And now you have to spend time and money trying to clean the steel to make it look presentable. That was not the answer he expected. So now all the Costco projects are white. In fact, a lot of my other clients, now I like to use white steel because it just looks better, without adding additional time to the project, and with a very minimum cost increase. Well, early on in the program with Costco, for reasons beyond our control, the project was running behind schedule. So the executive vice president came to the construction site and wanted to bring all the team players together and see what we could do to open the Costco store on time. Because once the opening date is announced for a Costco, there is no going back. So the project was about 3.5 weeks behind schedule. So we got together on the construction office and started discussing ways on how we could make up the time and still open the store on time. Well, we got feedback from all the major trades: electrical, mechanical, plumbing, concrete, and they all agreed to work 7 days a week, work overtime, bring additional manpower to make up the time, and Costco offered to pay for the additional cost. Well, when he asked about my trade, the steel structure, of course, if you can't have the steel up in the air, the other trades obviously can't do much, at least overhead. And I told him, yes, we will bring additional guys, we will work overtime, but we will not, he used the word not work on Sundays. That didn't go right with him, and he said, wait a minute, you can't work on Sundays? I said, no. He said, why? So I told him, I said, that's a commitment I made to the Lord that we don't work on Sundays. He says, well, can you at least work on this project on Sunday so we can get it opened on time? Well, I said, no, but I will bring additional guys, and I repeated the same thing. And then he got really impatient with me. And he said, you mean to tell me you will not work on Sundays to get this project done on time, even if you lost this account? Well, I knew the answer I was going to give him, probably his response would be, because I had worked with him for a few years. Okay, I understand, thank you. Just go ahead and finish this project and we will get somebody else to do the steel on our projects. Yeah. So my answer was, I'm sorry, but we will not work on Sundays. That's my commitment. And he just paused for a minute. Now you can imagine it, there was silence in that office, construction office. He walks up to me and pokes his fingers in my chest really hard. And he says, you better meet that commitment. And then as he left the building on his way out, he told the architect who was with him, who shared with me later on, he told the architect, that is one stubborn Indian. I've been called worse things. The Costco schedule, this may surprise you. Once the dirt pad is ready, the site is graded roughly, it's 110 days actually. From that point till cash register, they're open for business. And yes, there is no choice. We do not want to be the one that would let them down and they would have to change their opening date. And in the 33 years, Costco has not changed their opening dates. It was very challenging during the COVID years with supply chain issues, but it wasn't our part. It was stuff that Costco needed to bring in racks and all the security system that they were put in. And the electrical panel which Costco buys, the square D panels, those things held it up, which required Costco to extend their opening dates. But we were ready. And because of that, we get rewarded every December when we have what we call a Costco report card meeting. And it's a very stressful meeting where we review how did we do during the year, what things didn't go right, what went right, what can we change. And the demands are not the same every year, they just keep moving the needle every year. We built for Costco on 4 continents. Except for North America, the schedule is longer. In Australia, it used to be 140 days. But now Australia, we're down to 110 days. So except for US, Canada, and Mexico, the other countries, not including Australia now, the schedule is 140 days. But we are working on it to try and move that scale down because that's what Costco wants. And that's what they'll get. Okay. As a result of that experience, that stressful experience with the executive vice president on the construction side, the benefits of that were amazing. That was not something I didn't realize that would be the consequences of that, but I was invited to attend after that incident their weekly strategy meetings, where it's only the Costco management, including the real estate group and the architect. And I was invited to sit in those meetings every Monday morning. So for the first 23 years, I would fly up to Seattle and be sitting in the meeting where they discussed all what you would consider confidential information on how much they paid for the property, how much the whole project is going to cost for the next 3 to 5 years. And so I have a list now that I receive every week that shows projects going out at least 3 years, sometimes longer. In the last 2 years, I've been able to work some of my management team to attend that meeting so I can focus on some other stuff that I'm involved with. So as of last December report card meeting, we have built for Costco 125 million square feet on 4 continents. In North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Construction schedule on paper is 125 days because their folks need time to bring the stock in. They bring in approximately, and this is not confidential, between $40 to $50 million worth of product at Costco when they open the store. And each project, as I mentioned, has a 25-year warranty. And I don't have time to tell you what we have to do to jump through the hoops, because when a store is open and they have an issue, just one example I'll mention. In Taiwan, they had a typhoon and 14 of the air conditioning units blew off the roof. Next morning, I had a man on a plane going to Taiwan while we called train air conditioning company to fly in 14 air conditioning units to Taiwan, and within 4 days, that store was back in business. I'm sure you spent a lot of time and money at the one in Orem, Utah. We also build, besides the stores, the plums, the bonuses, we build the distribution centers. And the one in California is 1.4 million square feet. Most of the distribution centers are anywhere from 700,000 to 1 million square feet, which includes dry storage, cold storage, and cross-dock layout. So the way we run our business, a mission statement, which includes the 5 principles, there is one other condition attached to that we will provide the best schedule without compromising quality, safety, and God's commandments. Okay. So I'll share with you in the next few minutes just a history with the church. When Bishop Davies, of course he's passed away now, approached me to build a project for the church, he asked me if I had built any projects for the church. I said, no. He said, why not? I said, because the church works like the government. Too much red tape. So I told him some the reasons that it does not fit my culture. And he used to be in the construction business. He worked for Bechtel, I believe. So he asked me, he says, well, what will you take for us to have you build some work for us? So I told him, I said, I do not like to sit in committee meetings to get a decision. That's a no-no. I am not interested in bidding any projects. We negotiate all our projects. Costco is negotiated, and Costco is about 48% of my revenue. We have other clients. We negotiate with our clients. If they want us to bid a project along with 3 or 4 other companies, we are, fortunately, we have enough clients that want to negotiate with us that we are not interested in just being out in the bid market and being the lowest bidder. Okay? My definition of a lowest bidder is somebody who left out something. So after I talked to Bishop Davies and I told him about the way we do business, he says, I think we can work with you on that. And so that's the way I have done work for the church, and that's the way I do work for BYU. That conversation I had with Bishop Davies, similar conversation I had with President Merrill Bateman when he wanted me to build some buildings for BYU. I told them the same thing, that I'll be happy to be a consultant if I can help guide the direction for engineering and construction, but I'm not interested. And that was on the indoor practice facility and the student athlete building. Well, they went out to bid and it came in significantly high. I'll share that with you in a few minutes. So for the church, because my wife is from Afton, Wyoming, Star Valley, Wyoming, Bishop Davies, who would, he used to come and visit us at our home in Jackson Hole. So he says, no, you need to align yourself with somebody that's built temples, but we want you to be involved. And so Jacobson Construction and Doug Welling, who some of you know, and I have been good friends because we graduated together, and I teamed up and we built the Star Valley Temple. Again, Bishop Davies called me and asked me to build the Family Search building. And he said, how soon? Here comes the question. How soon can you build the building? I said, Bishop, how soon do you want it? And he says, well, we have 400 software engineers scattered across Salt Lake City in rented buildings. And the lease comes up for renewal next year. Can you have it done in a year? Well, you know the answer to that. And so he let me hire the architect. He let me negotiate, and we were able to get those engineers in time before the lease expired. Currently, I am blessed that the church is having me build the first temple in India. And it's under construction. And sorry, I cannot share the photos with you because that's what the church requirement is. Quickly, I'm going to just run through the facilities at BYU. This is the project. I had a conversation with President Bateman. Okay. So on the indoor practice facility, from the time we delivered steel till the time it was completed, it was 5 months. Ready for field turf. And of course, individuals enjoyed going up on top of the indoor practice facility about 94 feet high, so they can say, I've been up there. You know. And Ira Fulton, he doesn't mind me saying this, he weighed at that time 375 pounds. I got him and his wife up there. Okay. And as you know, your college is named after him. Okay. And as I mentioned, in 5 months, we were ready for field turf. And this was a memorable day when the football players all walked in there. And I welcomed them into that building, and many of them had tears in their eyes. It was amazing. As the dean mentioned, I was involved in building the new engineering building. What was challenging is to raise money. I told President Samuelson, I would enjoy building the building, but don't ask me to ask people for money. But it was amazing to see how members and friends of the church were willing to consecrate. That became a sacred experience for me. And Elder Bednar on December 4th of 2018 came and dedicated the engineering building. So you know the building you're studying in is sanctified. Yeah. And did some upgrades to the football stadium. And the last one I'm going to share with you is the Hinckley Alumni Building. President Hinckley came to the groundbreaking with his own shovel. I had brand new shovel painted ready for the groundbreaking. And the groundbreaking was on his 96th birthday, June 23rd, 2006. It was groundbreaking. Here's Ira Fulton again. He said he'd like to be my project manager, so he would come and check up on me. Remember, being an engineer, you can have a lot of fun too. At somebody else's expense. So, Ira Fulton and I and Alan Moore, we would go to see President Hinckley to give him an update, and he was very much interested. We had the topping ceremony on December 8th, 2006. And so we went to see President Hinckley to tell him that now we have the last piece of steel up. And he asked, when will the project be ready? And we said, well, sometime the following fall. And Ira Fulton didn't like that. He said, President Hinckley, King and I talked on our way up here that wouldn't it be nice if we could do the grand opening on your 97th birthday? And I was ready to kill Ira. I expected President Hinckley, now you know President Hinckley, expected him to say, well, brethren, do the best you can. Try your best and whenever it's ready. He didn't say that. He said, brethren, remember, I'm not getting any younger. On the way out of his office, I told Ira Fulton, I am going to use my one-way ticket to India. To have it ready, this was December 8th, to go through the winter months. But I put the challenge to my guys. Keep your commitments. Provide the best schedule without compromising. On President Hinckley's 97th birthday, the building was dedicated. So this was the topping ceremony. And I'm just going to play a brief video at the dedication and then we'll conclude.
Well, if I'd known so many nice things were going to be said, I would have had a party like this 10 years ago. What a wonderful occasion this is. I congratulate all who worked on this building to make it ready for today. A year ago, when we broke ground, we did not expect to finish it before fall. From groundbreaking to completion within a year is a really remarkable thing. I thank all who worked so hard and so long to make it happen, particularly the architects, Oakland Construction, Span Construction and Engineering, all of their skillful crews, my friend King Husein, and many others. Now, this is a very large building to carry the name of a small man.